If you are a Patreon patron, you're getting this like real time while I'm talking. And if you are a YouTube subscriber, you're also getting it real time. If you are considerate enough to have bothered to click on the instructions below and try to figure out how to link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account, you're also getting it real time, and we're getting paid, and that costs you nothing. So Patreon patrons, thank you. It does cost you something. YouTube subscribers, thank you. That also costs you something. But linking Twitch Prime and Amazon Prime costs Amazon something. It costs you nothing. So stick it to Amazon, please. Get them to pay Shane because you've already paid for it, and it's your money, and they'll give it to Shane instead of keeping it and having high profits. So thank you if you've done that. We're addressing a topic for the week, and this week we're going to talk about Microsoft rebranding its Halo studio from 343 Industries to Halo, and then changing the engine that they're building the next generation Halo game from Microsoft's proprietary Halo engine to using Unreal Engine 5. That's a good sign for Epic. Unreal Engine is obviously best in class to make the best games known to man, and it's a real vote of confidence from Microsoft that they're going to shift over to that. It also is a cost-saving move because Microsoft doesn't have to maintain an engine. They can pay Epic, and I'm sure that they've licensed the engine for a hefty sum, but it'll be worth it. And rebranding the studio's name as Halo Industries, or I'm sorry, it's Halo Studios, doesn't really matter. 343 Industries never made any sense in the first place. If you guys remember, the original Halo game was made by Bungie. Bungie left. EA allowed the studio to leave. They kind of gave them their release, and in exchange, Microsoft kept the Halo brand. They added the 343 Industries studio back in 2000, I want to say 8 or 9 or 10. But Bungie went over to, well, it might have been 11 actually. Bungie went over to make Destiny for Activision under a publishing deal. They made a couple, and then they were split off there. They were independent for a while. They then became part of Sony. But 343 replaced them. They made the last couple of Halos. I don't know that either had the kind of success that Microsoft would have liked to have. And, you know, it strikes me, and I think this is probably the nature of why people care. It strikes me that, you know, Microsoft may be contemplating putting Halo on multi-platform. Now, as I've said 100 times, I am absolutely convinced that Microsoft thinks that its game should launch on Game Pass day and date. And so if in fact they were considering putting Halo on PlayStation, that would likely be later by 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. But why not? There are going to be PlayStation owners who will never join Game Pass, and they want to play good content. And allowing it to be on PlayStation acknowledges that PlayStation has a great console, a lot of loyal fans who enjoy playing great content, and Microsoft very likely into that installed base, which by the time we get another Halo will be well over 100 million PlayStation 5s. You could see 20 million sales on the PlayStation. So, you know, nothing to sniff at, $1 billion extra if Microsoft chooses to monetize it that way. And I think that Microsoft's headed that way. I think that the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK, the CMA, forced Microsoft to agree that all Activision titles would be multi-platform. So Call of Duty is going to stay multi-platform as long as they make Call of Duty. And I think Microsoft is kind of starting to see that, you know, Game Pass isn't going to generate the revenue they expect it to all by itself. Why not put their games on multi-platform and on their proprietary service? And let me give you the analogy. That is like a movie studio launching a film in theaters and on its own streaming service. Now, Microsoft's going to probably do this backwards from the movie business, but the film, you're going to maximize revenue if you let people who want to see it on a pay-per-view basis see the movie in the theater, and you're going to maximize revenue if all the people who didn't see it in the theater subscribe to your Netflix-like service and see it later. So Microsoft's doing it the other way. Game Pass players probably get it first. PlayStation owners who don't belong to Game Pass will do the equivalent of seeing Halo in a theater. You know, they'll pay for it. It's going to maximize revenue because you have this valuable IP, Halo, and you want to push it out to the maximum number of consumers. I would question the order in which they do it. I think Game Pass could actually be an interesting service if you got everything free after launch. But Microsoft is looking for a world after consoles are obsolete, and so this is a bridge between when they're still relevant and they become obsolete. Let's keep PlayStation alive for a couple of years more. Let's have Sony help you monetize your IP. And if it works, I think they can do this with all their IP. I think that everything shows up on PlayStation ultimately, and everything shows up in Game Pass ultimately, and Game Pass will maximize. Now, truthfully, like I said, I think they have the order reversed. Better to launch on a console and then after a year or two put it on the Game Pass service. Better to price Game Pass competitively, as in maybe $0 with ad support or $5 or something. You would then maximize the number of people who actually play your games on all different consoles. But Microsoft will figure it out. We don't know the answer yet. They're testing the model as they go. And I think a lot of people are skeptical about Game Pass at $20, and they should be. I don't think anybody would be skeptical about Game Pass at $5. So, that's kind of my story, and I'm going to stick to it. I don't know what they plan to do, but I think the speculation that making it in Unreal makes it easier to put the game onto multiple consoles is probably the right argument. It probably does happen. So a good vote of confidence for the Unreal Engine, a good branding, Halo Studios. Again, I think that the speculation that you're going to ultimately get Halo on PlayStation is right and real. So, we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see if Sony ever goes the other way, and maybe you put Halo on PlayStation in exchange for PlayStation games showing up on Game Pass after they've exhausted their run, after their 2-3 years. So Uncharted on Game Pass might actually make sense. And Sony can afford to do that. You're starting to see that in the movie streaming business with Warner Brothers Discovery. They're putting like HBO shows on syndicated television after they're several years old. That's smart. They're getting another way to monetize a pretty big investment. And so ultimately, I think that should be true of all content. You should reach the maximum number of consumers at the lowest price for each iteration, make them wait. And obviously, if you wait to see a movie 10 or 20 years after it came out, you should pay nothing. You should watch it on free, ad-supported television. If you want to see it the first day, you should see it in the theater and pay $20. So Microsoft's kind of heading that way with games, and we'll see if they get the order right. But I am absolutely convinced that the speculation is right, that Halo will ultimately be on PlayStation. There's a question whether Halo remains a valuable brand, and did Microsoft and 343 destroy the brand? I think it's still valuable. I think that people kind of pine for that experience. I think they enjoyed it. Yes, each of the last 3 were not as good as the first 3, I guess. But truthfully, it's a good franchise. They can get their mojo back. I think that they will take their time doing it and getting it right. There's not that many mistakes you can make. So, Medal of Honor kind of destroyed the brand, being just bad for a couple of iterations. And, this happened, like the Mission Impossible movie brand was at risk after the third one, which was pretty bad. I think it was the third one, second or third. One of the first few was bad. The first one was great. You get your mojo back, it's fine. So they have one shot to get it back. But if it's great, then it'll sell. So does the genre Master Chief, Space Marines killing alien bad guys, does that work? Yes. I mean, it absolutely works if they get it right. I think this game actually has its own niche, and people really did like it. And Halo was kind of the first really good widespread console multiplayer game. Call of Duty ate its lunch there, but Halo was the game we played. That was the first multiplayer experience for most console owners. So I think they can get their mojo back. But again, they got one shot. So I think this one shot is build it on Unreal, release it on multiple platforms, get the biggest possible audience, and do it right. The right cadence for maximizing revenue is release it on consoles first, and so Xbox and PlayStation, and then later put it on Game Pass. And if I knew nothing about Game Pass and Microsoft had just started it and they were going to roll out Game Pass this week, I would bet that that's how they were going to do it, but that's not how they do it. Microsoft does day and date. And it's the same as Netflix making original movies for Netflix. It's stupid, but they do it. They don't make any money, but they do it. So the question is, how long will Microsoft be stupid? And I don't know the answer to that. Could they put it on Game Pass and Xbox and PlayStation all the same day and have cross-platform multiplayer? 100% they could. And would that be the second best way to maximize? 100%. Will they do that? I don't know. I think that Microsoft is so fixated on Game Pass justifying that $20 value that they don't want to cheapen it by putting the game on PlayStation day one. But I agree, it would maximize the value of the Halo brand if they did that. They just wouldn't get as many Game Pass signups. So making the PlayStation owner wait would give that person an incentive to sign up for Game Pass if he wants to play Halo. Not that very many of them do it, but some might if Halo's really great. Making it available day and date is going to take away that incentive. The guys would rather just spend $60 or $70 on his PlayStation. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I would say the best is console launch, multi-platform, cross-platform play day one with Game Pass a year later. Second best is multi-platform, cross-platform, and Game Pass the same day. Worst is Game Pass only and Xbox and PlayStation waits. But they may do that because it's Microsoft. So I can't answer what they're going to do. They would maximize profit to the company by putting it on everything the same day. They would maximize profit in the long run by putting it on console first and streaming later, which is how the movie studios do it with film exhibition and then streaming. We'll see what they come up with, but that's my spin. Again, if you're a Patreon patron, you're getting this live, and we appreciate your patronage. If you're a YouTube subscriber, you're also getting it live. And if you are a thoughtful consumer of my content who is, can remember to look at the instructions in the show description below and link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account, we're getting paid. You're getting rewarded by getting this real time. I don't get paid, but guess what? It doesn't cost you anything either. You're sticking it to Amazon. So please look in the description of the show and do it, because you got to re-up this every couple of months. Please try to do that and we get paid. If you can't do any of those things because you have no money or it's not worth it to you or you're too lazy, thanks for watching a week late. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's still called Twitter, right? @Michael Pachter. See you guys next time.